This video highlights voices of Pacific Northwest coastal Indigenous peoples. These are a few of the many who are actively addressing climate change. Their words showcase the breadth and depth of climate change knowledge that Indigenous peoples hold. Their work demonstrates the lead role of Indigenous peoples in climate change assessments and action planning, and provides a greater understanding of the issues facing Native peoples today. Each narrative addresses personal views about climate change, the biggest concerns, current and future actions to address climate impacts.
About climate change and how that's affecting our first foods like harvestable plants, our first foods like shellfish and salmon. These are all things that are impacted by climate change, and these are reasons why Native communities or all Indigenous communities are impacted more than other communities by climate change.
There's a domino effect, just the oceans being affected, and that impacts basically everything else. And my main concern is a food source, so looking at the environment as a food source. And so if these sources are being impacted, then the health of these communities are directly being impacted. So if they don't have access to nutritional foods, then there's no way that they'll be able to sustain themselves for generations to come.
Talk to another family that maybe lives on this part of the coast, another one lives on the river. They're experiencing perhaps the same climatic change or phenomena at a broad scale, but each of them at a local level are experiencing things slightly different.
But I think it's real. I think that it's happening. It's going to accelerate, and we have to begin some sort of planning process to figure out what we can do.
What we saw in this last year, the wildfires, the droughts, the severity of the storms that has continued to plague this nation, and it seems to verify what a lot of scientists were already telling us.
One of the things that I am doing is I'm serving on a local community advisory board with the University of Washington for the Center for Ecogenetics and Environmental Health as an advisory board member with the tribal perspective, to be able to help in future research, to be able to bring in that perspective of the values that we have as tribal people, which is we versus I.
We're taught the S'Klallam way, and S'Klallam way is to love yourself, love other people, and love every living thing that dwells on this earth. And if we could teach our kids and use this as an educational tool, that'll change the way that people are impacting our climate.
There's a saying in my community: when the tide is out, the table is set. And that means a lot to my community, to be able to not have to go to a store to gather resources to provide for their families in need.
One of the projects that I've been blessed to be able to work on with the University of Washington and the Together for Children families is the book Tadlock. And this started as a result of what is important to our tribe and to our community around the environment, what's affecting us. And based on all the community conversations that we had in the gatherings, we had decided that we would put together a children's book from our families to our children, to be able to say, this is the S'Klallam way of life. This is our wish, our hope, our dream for you, that you will continue the sacred responsibility to uphold and respect the earth, each other, and the traditions that we have.